Joining me right now for some conversation at the African Mining Indaba 2014 is Daphne Mashile-Nkosi. She's, of course, CEO of Kalagadi Manganese. Thanks so much, Daphne, for joining us today. Well, late last year, you launched your 7 billion rand manganese mining and beneficiation project in the Northern Cape, the aim to serve as a model for ensuring mineral wealth. How's that been progressing?
I think when we actually launched the project last year, we were always of the view, because we were already in discussions with the African Development Bank, we knew that we will actually be able to draw down on the 2.2 billion. We are excited today at the mining Indaba that we are announcing that contrary to the fact that South Africa is no longer an investment of choice, we see people having an interest in terms of putting, this is foreign direct investment from the African Development Bank of 2.2 billion. It's confidence enough into the mining sector in South Africa. And for us specifically, being a greenfields project that started 10 years ago with a dream in a suitcase and a business plan, we are actually very excited that of the confidence that has been shown in us by the African Development Bank. And for me, it's commitment enough to say, from an African Development Bank perspective, they've actually put back the D into development. Because often people want to talk about development, but when they actually have to fund it, they look at risk metrics that actually matches commercial banks. And for me, I'm excited that it's not only for Kalagadi, but others that will follow as well can actually tap into funding, which has become a problem in terms of development of SMEs in the country.
While this capital injection has come to the fore, and that alleviating some of the pressure that you may face in a context of many challenges, what are some of the challenges that still stand in the way of creating what's ultimately going to be termed a beneficiation hub?
I think for me, this injection actually pushes us closer to the promised land in terms of revenues that we can actually derive from the sinter plant. It came at the right time when the sinter plant has just started production. We're producing 2 million tons a day of sintered product at 44%. We're very proud of that. And this injection of cash will be able to alleviate the pressures in terms of paying our contractors, concluding the bridge, the rail loop, the rapid loadout station that will allow the trains from Transnet to actually come into Kalagadi, collect the manganese and take it to PE.
What about smelter capacity and addressing that need specifically?
The part of the funding is part funding for the smelter. It will allow us to actually start the discussions and the bulk earthworks in terms of the funding of the smelter. Remember, this is a 3-in-1 project. You cannot separate it. And by the way, we are happy to announce as well that we've signed a framework agreement with a company that will be funding the smelter. So the smelter is going to continue. Yes, we have challenges in terms of we are a new entrant in the market, logistics, energy, and so on, but we are hoping against hope that everything will be fine. There has always been challenges, and we've always managed to actually work around them. The challenges are that we are in the Northern Cape. Sometimes there's no water, but we have a water reservoir that will keep water for 4 days, and therefore if there's no water for 2 days, we can still keep water in the reservoir. So we never thought that everything is easy. As an entrepreneur, we know that it's going to be difficult. The difference between people who are failures and winners is that those that win is that you fall, you stand up, you do it again and again, and until you can perfect it. And for us is that we decided that as one of the ladies from African Development said at the press conference, that Obama says we can, we are saying we did it.
If we did it, let's take a look then at the mismatch between mineral wealth and the levels of poverty.
Yes.
To what extent do you see that putting a dent in that mismatch?
For instance, if you look at the Kalagadi model, it's a model that looked at the Kimberley whole and looked at the Northern Cape in particular as a province, to say you have a province with well endowed with mineral resources, but the poverty levels in that area, the social ills in that area, And we said, as women, is there something that you can do rather than complain about it? And we said, we'll start a mine, a sinter plant, and a smelter. Why did we decide to do it against all odds when we know the challenges of not having rail in the Northern Cape, no infrastructure in the Northern Cape, water scarce country, but it's even worse in the Northern Cape because it's a semi-desert. We wanted to do it because we said constructive engagement with the public sector will assist in terms of making sure that at the end of the day, I'm a grandmother. I want my grandchildren not to spit on my grave, but to celebrate, to say, here lies a woman who actually thought of doing things. Of course, the benefit might not be realized now, but in 10 years' time, in 5 years' time, in 20 years' time, we have done something to redress the imbalances of the past, where you have mineral resources leaving the Northern Cape, which the Kimberley Hole bears testimony to the fact that Kimberley was discovered in the 1800s, but there's nothing to show in the area. So for us, we are women, we are mothers, we give life, we look at the softer things in life, and we are saying we need to improve the standard living of ordinary people in those areas.
Taking the emotion out of the equation, when it comes to the skill set that you have to work with, are the necessary skill sets in place to actually enforce or put to work the vision that you have?
The vision is 2/3 realized. It therefore displays the fact that there is skills. If you really are committed to looking for black skills, engineers, I have them. I have a CEO, I have engineers, we've done it. We are the Rolls-Royce of the industry in terms of safety. We have done over 15 million man hours without a fatality, and therefore for me, we have displayed that, for me it's a red herring, that there are no skills. We have found skills, we have been able to poach if we want to. So where there's a will, there's a way.
This, in effect, then, a project that is very much synchronized with the National Development Plan.
Of course, we actually lead us in terms of the National Development Plan, in terms of infrastructure development, in terms of beneficiation in the country. We've built the biggest manganese sinter plant in terms of output in the whole world, and not only in South Africa or in Africa, in the whole world. It actually shows you that when people sit down to think about how to improve the standard of their own, they actually can do it.
Let's leave it there. Daphne, thanks so much for having joined us today. Daphne Mashile-Nkosi, of course, is a CEO of Kalagadi Manganese.